So now we're going to build our own Angular filter. We're going to use the Angular modular syntax as well. So I'll set up a module down here, angular.module, and call it my app, and then include the dependencies in brackets, but we don't have any at the moment. Then I'll add the my app to the ng-app directive on the HTML tag. So say my app, my app, and then add the filter controller that you can see I've referenced here, and set that up as a function, and it's going to take scope as a parameter, and then we'll close off the brackets. The filter we're going to write will be a clean filter. It's going to remove all the punctuation and spaces and lowercase from some text. So I'm just going to create a template for the text to go in, and then we'll define the text and then create the filter. So on the scope, I'm going to create a model called text, and we'll put in some gibberish like hello world. Maybe not quite gibberish, but just some text. Hello world, this is some text, exclamation mark. So how do we make a filter? Well, it's quite similar to how we create a controller actually. We use the same dot syntax, so I'll just say dot filter and give it a name, we'll call it clean, and it's also a function. This isn't quite the filter yet. We have to return something from this function, so I'll return another function. Now Angular knows that this is a filter, and so we can start using it in here. It won't do anything at the moment, in fact the text will just disappear. Angular will pass us in our filter function, which is this inner function, the text that we've supplied to the filter in our template. So here I'll say we're passing the input parameter, and I'll just return the input. And now you'll see that the text is now appearing on the page again. This is because we've just taken the input in and returned it back out again. Angular is just handing us the input, which is this text, and we're just sending it straight back through again. To show that we're now doing something, if I say to lowercase, then you can see that all our text is now in lowercase. And this is the first thing we actually need to do in the filter. Next, we're going to remove all the spaces and convert them to hyphens. So I will, on a new line, just for nice formatting, say replace, and we're going to replace any spaces, one or more spaces, and we need this to be a global replace, and then replace that with hyphens. So now I've replaced all our spaces with hyphens. And on the next line we're going to add another replace, which will be another regular expression. This one's slightly more complicated, but we've seen it before in another video. But this time we're going to replace all the punctuation with nothing. Instead of selecting just punctuation, I'm going to basically select the inverse. So I'm going to say we don't want to select anything with this A to Z or 0 to 9, and I'm going to make this case insensitive as well. We don't actually need it at the moment because we've already done 2 lowercase, but we might in the future. And we also don't want to replace hyphens. So now you can see we have hello-world-this-is-some-text, which is what we wanted. All we're doing here is defining a filter using our dot syntax, dot filter clean, and we give it a name. Then we provide a function, and from that function we return another function that's our actual filter. The reason this is created in 2 functions is that our filter may have some dependencies, and we have to request these using the outer function. For example, we might have a dependency on another filter. So let's see how we add a parameter to our filter. In this case, I want to supply the separator, so I might not always want to use dashes. In this case, I'm going to just use spaces. So now Angular passes us the parameters that are given to us from the template in the rest of the arguments on the inner function. So in this case, I'm going to call my argument separator. We may not always get past the separator, so let's use the OR operator to make sure that we either have the separator or the dashes. Separator or dashes, and I'll put these in brackets so it's clear what's going on. But you can see a problem here because the separator is a space, but we're removing everything except A to Z, 0 to 9 and dashes. So we need to modify this regular expression. Now this is where things get a little bit more complicated, but they're still okay. I'm going to create a new regular expression, and we'll call this filter. And we use new reg xp, so we're creating a new regular expression object, and we give it a string. So in this case I'm going to give it this string, but we remove the slashes from the end. Then we also need to give it the flags, so that's I and G. and then we include it here again, filter. I seem to have a problem here already. I'll just check the inspector, see what's going on. Regx, oh, of course, I've said it's regxp. So you can see we still have the same problem because we haven't included the separator here. What we need to do is say we either want the separator or the dash to be the last character that we remove. So I'll do that like that, and you can see it's immediately working. That's because we've already passed the clean filter a space. If I swap this or remove that parameter completely, you can see we're now using dashes again. And if I pass it a different argument, let's say the plus, then we're now separating everything with pluses. So that's it. We've created our own filter. We used the dot syntax, gave it a name, and supplied a function, which returned an inner function that's our actual filter. It accepts as arguments the input to the filter, which is this text here, basically what's on the left of the pipe, and any arguments that you supply inside the template. Then we just return a string that we've filtered. And that's about all there is. It's really easy to create filters, and they're a really useful part of Angular. In the next video, we're going to take a look at directives, and then create one of those for ourselves.